What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Neg Entropy Chronicles. So I actually found a pretty interesting one by Jubilee. It's black teens versus black grandparents. And I was watching it for a second, but then I was like, yo, let me stop it because this is actually pretty interesting. And we get to actually see a constructive conversation between grandparents and teenagers. And the context is really under have things actually changed from then and now. So let's not waste more time and get into it, all right?
How has the experience of being black in America changed?
I lived Black history.
Amend, The Fight for America is a performance documentary that examines the revolutions and counter-revolutions that have shaped America.
I remember when Kennedy was shot. I remember when Martin Luther King was shot. We grew up with the Panthers. Things have changed so much.
Every day I have conversations with my children about the current events, things that are going on today, comparing them to years ago.
Were you taught Black history as a child?
Yes and no. They would, but it was always a whitewashed version of history. Like, oh, racism ended when the Civil Rights Movement was.
I was taught the bare minimum. Everyone learns about Martin Luther King. I honestly wish I learned a little bit more about slavery.
Today, I'm looking forward to being understood. A lot of the experiences that I have with older black people is, I'm the parent, you're the child, you don't have an opinion.
In my day, we had a consensus. We knew.
So there was two interesting things there. They talked about the bare minimums of what they were learning. And the cool thing about the internet age right now is that you can actually do your research now and find out more about black leaders during those eras. And the young girl who said that I'm a parent, you're a child, your opinion doesn't matter. I think that's difficult because it's not about an opinion. It's about a conversation. Let me see who you are as an individual versus a dishpan that you just keep filling up with stuff. If I'm wanting something to grow out of this dishpan, you know what I'm saying? I gotta cultivate it and grow it. And cultivate it and grow it by talking to that individual and seeing where their mind is at this current time. Because yes, you're a parent, but you only get your kids a certain amount of time out of a day. That's it. So you definitely have to talk to your kids to see what influences are really making a happenstance on their life and whatnot.
Knew exactly what the priority was. Today's youth, they have a lot of mixed messages. So I'm looking to hear what message is it that they're trying to get across.
I like that.
My name is Beverly Arrington. Tomorrow's my birthday. I'll be 70 years old.
Wow.
I have 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and 3 beautiful great-grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
You look amazing.
Thank you so much.
My name is Skip Townsend, 57 years old, born and raised right here in Los Angeles. I'm the father of 12 children.
Snaps.
I have 15 grandchildren. I have 1 great grandbaby. I'm an advocate for peace. So I'm a domestic violence counselor, anger management, parenting.
I'm Cynthia Singleton. I'm 74 years old. My main thing in retirement is I'm a coordinator for an intergenerational tutoring program for LAUSD, and I'm happy. I'm really fortunate. I have a good life.
Hi, I'm Alexandra. I'm 17. I'm a high school student. I'm biracial, so it's kind of hard for me to find my part of society. So I fight for literally everybody because I understand that we are extremely marginalized and we deserve better.
Well, I'm assuming
My name is
Asian,
Devin Hayden.
but-
I'm 17 years old. When I go to college, I hope to pursue a degree in political science because I feel as though there are not enough young people or black people in government.
Hello, I'm Bree. I'm in school. I go to FITM and I'm studying merchandising and marketing. I also work at a bakery, just getting me through college. So yeah, I'm just taking life one day at a time and just trying to figure out my space in this world.
Can I get my grandparents on the right and my teens on the left? If you agree, step forward. If you disagree, stay back. My generation has had it harder than the other side.
Ah, that's interesting. See, I like how they ask these questions. They ask some pretty interesting
My
ones.
first job was at a bank. They would use me as the supervisor, but I was still making minimum wage. And then they promoted all of these other people who were white. I didn't have any of the titles and did all the work. I was trusted to do the work. I wasn't trusted to get paid any more money.
I had a job, and they actually told me that I looked too militant because I had a fro, and I was proud of my fro. And I had an Afro sticker on my car, and they told me in order to continue to work here, you have to get rid of the fro and get the Afro sticker off of your car. We had to toe the line and look the best, act the best in order to have any kind of advancement. Whereas now I think things are a little looser.
Now, it really depends on where you're at, because even now they're still having these debates about kids' hairdos in elementary, middle school, high school. The young boy that was playing was a wrestler. He had to cut his hair during the match in order to continue to compete. Otherwise, they would have disqualified him. So it's interesting how it's still happening.
For me, I think being 14, 15 years younger than you two, my challenges were different. It wasn't about a job. We couldn't go to the movies because the Crips had started. Because now we can't go to the park. Now when I go to school, there's a different element. So when my mother tells me to go to the store, and the store is maybe 2 blocks away, but I know just crossing that busy street puts me in danger, it'll make me go 6, 7 blocks the other way. And my whole world was not about get a high school diploma. I just want to get home every night. So it's just so many things that were dangerous in my growing up in the 1980s and 90s that I think that what the children have today is a silver or maybe if it's a golden spoon.
Now I'm going to say that's a little different because, you know, every generation before always looks at it that they had something harder. But, you know, he's from LA. He's talking about the Crips. That's still going on today. You know, it still is the thing that happens, and it happens across the U.S. now even more, because in the 60s, 69 when it started, in the 70s, that was kind of directed towards that area. But now it's across the U.S. You can find all types of different gangs everywhere. So it really just depends on where you're at, where you can go, where you can't go. You know, even if it's not a gang, it's a street. So, you know, sometimes the older generations always think they had it harder. You know, it's just certain things have evolved differently, you know, so.
Disagreeers, please step forward.
Bring the golden spoon era in here.
See, golden spoon.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you guys said, and we could even say that we've had a golden spoon in our mouths. You guys aren't wrong with that.
I mean, you guys definitely paved the way for us. We were just following in your footsteps almost. I do think that our generation has a lot of pressure on our career and education, and I appreciate it. It is very stressful. My parents want me to have a good job and go to a good school. My grandparents want the same, but it's because they want me to have what they didn't have.
I wholeheartedly agree that you guys had it way harder, but you guys were lucky in the point that you knew who the racists were. You knew the KKK was down the street over there. You knew because they was in your face with it. Now, in the face of technology and the new age, people are way covert about it. They hide it. I've had somebody comment monkey under my thing, and I didn't even know who it was. I'm only 17. I'm not prepared to have somebody on the internet who doesn't know who I am call me derogatory slurs or, you know, threaten to kill me. You know what it's like to experience overt racism. I don't. But I need you guys in situations like that because I don't know what to do.
So I like her honesty in that. I thought that was really genuine, you know. Now I'm looking at all of them. Now, even my age, like I look at younger cats that talk about things like this and I'm like, well, just turn it off. Block them. Yeah, you're going to have people that say something, but they on the internet, they ain't even in your face. Where you had people back in their eras that was saying it to them in their face and they still couldn't do anything. Where now you can bust somebody in the, well, nah, because they tell real quick. But, you know, you might be able to see what their temperature's worth when they press you, you know. But back then they couldn't do anything. They had to just be like, yep, okay, and then just keep it walking. So I can understand where they saying, oh, the gold spoon, because the internet is breaking children mentally. But I like the fact that she also was like, I need y'all in order to deal with it. Like, help me out. When somebody calls me this, how do I overlook that? How do I not let it affect me? I really like that.
I do have to say one thing that I kind of disagree with. I feel as though the younger generation doesn't have as much guidance or a specific goal that you guys had. You guys had people like Malcolm X. You guys had people like Fred Hampton. You've had people like that. Who do we have? Obama, maybe? We don't really have those leaders to guide us in a certain direction.
I disagree. I think you are the leaders. People are going to tell you that you have to aspire to be somewhere, but Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X both died before they were 40. They were the leaders when they were your age. So you guys are the leaders. And who you hang around. See, I hung around Big Monster, Tiny Killer, Little Shooter, Baby One Punch. You guys not hanging around them. You're hanging around people who are inspired and motivated to do the same things you're doing. So the leaders are here. I don't think you recognize them because they're right next to you.
Whew, bring in the applause. That right there was a beautiful and powerful statement. It's y'all. It's your turn. Because those people that weren't even 40 were already taken out of the game. But they started young. So it wasn't about the age that made a difference. It was about what information you were pushing. What was the end goal? What was the thing that you were leading towards? So I like that he said, y'all sitting next to each other. Y'all are the leaders. You can make the changes. Versus saying, well, just wait for somebody else. No, they didn't wait for other people. Once they figured out their purpose, as some people will say, they then put in the work. You know, so, man, once I saw that before, that's why I had to do this video. Just for that statement alone. And I hope these younger people see it for real, because that meant a lot.
Protest should be peaceful.
Absolutely not.
I've seen in the 1992 riots and also in the recent uprisings that a lot of opportunists were there. And it was an opportunity to tear up our own community.
Facts.
The emotions, the drive, the passion creates something that turns violent, it turns ugly, and the rest of the world is able to see that there's a lack of control. Let's work on finding a solution rather than just destroying the community.
Now, before anybody else jumps on, like he said, you're tearing up your own neighborhoods. And let's talk about this for real. You don't own them. I've had conversations with people above me with knowledge from those eras that actually lived during them. I can even give you one from Cleveland, Ohio. There was a riot that happened in the 60s. And they tore up all of that stuff. The people who own those buildings became millionaires overnight because everything got tore up. Then they left. They didn't rebuild. They took the money, dipped. Nobody bought the buildings up. Nobody refixed them. Like, no one fixed them. Nobody did anything. But then guess what happened when they tore up those neighborhoods? New people would come in, build the stuff up, and then they got gentrified. So these people ended up getting moved out of those neighborhoods that they tore up. You see what I'm saying? Instead of buying them up, these people bought them at a cheap amount. Where now you see, even with those riots that were happening recently, those weren't the peaceful protesters. Those were people who were getting paid to go in and do it. Well, that's speculation, but who knows? But very valid point.
I think one of the greatest examples is the bus boycott. The world runs on economics. It's all about the money. Hurt them in the wallet. You can march till you're blue in the face, but unless they're going to lose money, then it doesn't affect them as much as the bottom line does, that these people are going to actually stop buying our products. Affect the money, and I think you'll get a much longer reaching effect.
Facts, 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 facts.
And you seem so.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep pausing this, but listen, when you want to talk about hurting money, think about during the times when the union was going to stop the trucks from driving. Government did whatever they wanted. Why? Because they were like, if these truckers do not get out on the road, they can shut down the country, give them whatever they want, because they knew the money and the product being moved was way more important. So if you're messing with the money, it's over. You can really control a lot more.
Peaceful.
I think when we were going through the Black Lives Matter protests this past year, the peaceful protests were never seen. We would see a 10-second clip of it and be like, oh, there was a peaceful protest an hour ago. Although I don't agree with violence, I don't want anyone to get killed or hurt, I do think that it brings a little bit more awareness to what we're fighting for.
I agree to an extent. I am a product of the Watts riots. We lived at 115th and Central. Our friends were all in those riots. They'd knock on the door and tell my mother, hey, Miss Addie, keep the kids inside. Things are getting bad out here. I don't agree with everything that happened in the Watts riots because there was a lot of destruction, but the Watts riots are still referenced today. My father always said the squeaky wheel gets the oil, but I don't want anybody to be hurt. I don't want to see a repeat of what we saw at the Capitol. None of us want to see any kind of nonsense like that. We want to have a message with what you're doing.
Yeah, to some extent, I completely agree. But at the same time, I'm a wholehearted believer in civil disobedience. For example, the Founding Fathers, though I am very critical of them, they used violent tactics to get from Britain to be independent. This is just property damage. I don't really necessarily care if a building gets burned down, if a cop car gets burned down, because how many people have been killed by the hands of the police and nothing has happened?
The whole reason why people protest is because they're upset about something. Black people have every single right to be upset. And I don't think that we would have got the killers of George Floyd convicted had we been out there just holding a sign, please convict. No, we need to apply pressure to the government, because if they think that we're not going to step up and take action and hold them accountable, they're not going to do anything.
Okay, I'm going to interject a thought since.
Now, it's interesting. Civil disobedience, talking about the forefathers, things like that. Oh, these are just buildings. True, we do look at them as just buildings, but the difference is when the stuff gets burned, the stuff gets destroyed. None of these people that are putting in the work destroying the stuff is not rebuilding the community. They're not buying up the property. They're not fixing it up. All it does is bring down the property value. And it also makes a terrible sight for people to walk past and see every day. Yes, it'll be in the history books, but then that was like, even with the Watts riots, that was in the 60s. Some people don't even want to go to Watts today. You know what I'm saying? Because it's violence, things like that, whatever narrative they put on it. Some people are afraid to go there. And these are things, yeah, you apply pressure, don't get me wrong. But in those same places where you talk about pressure being applied, people got murdered, killed, whatever. It happens. So, like, I believe in hurting the pockets more than anything, because money moves everything.
I'm the senior here. Believe this if you believe nothing else. What you do now will follow you for the rest of your life.
Records.
This world is digitized, and you don't want to get in this man's system, because this brother can testify, once he gets you in that system, he will keep his foot on your neck, and you will never, ever hardly get free. Say you do something you get arrested, how's that arrest record going to affect you for the rest of your life?
Facts.
I want people to think of long range.
Yep.
I think the Black Lives Matter, what made me overjoyed, and I had tears, because they got it. These kids finally got it. Vote, vote, vote. Protest, yes, but where's the power?
I definitely think that you should be voting, but we have to recognize how undemocratic our system is. We've been voting for decades. Nothing meaningful has been accomplished. There are still disparities when it comes to education. There are still disparities when it comes to police brutality. There are still disparities when it comes to drug charges. These are all problems, and we've been voting, and it hasn't been working.
Now, when he referenced Malcolm X, I watched one of his, not his documentaries. I was looking for actual videos that weren't in the documentaries. He used to talk about voting Democrat. And he was like, since the 60s, y'all been voting, and y'all not getting anything. They'll tell you to give you something, and then boom, you didn't get anything out of it. So he used to call black people during that era political chumps. Now, you're talking about, now it's 2022, talking about almost 60 years, and you still have people saying they're not doing anything for you. Look at what's going on. That's speculative based on what you're looking for and what you want done for you, right? So the thing is yeah, you can vote, but the problem is what is the community doing to uplift the community? I.e., if there's drug charges, things like that, and there's a disparity in it, is the community funneling people into those locations to then fix those things? Because lawyers, you got to get lawyers, you got to get lawmen in there, not lawmen, you got to get, political people in there, you got to get it from city council all the way up. You can't just start at thinking that it's going to work from the top. You got to grow like vegetables and trees and all of that. You got to start from the root up, because if you thinking it's just going to fall from the top, there's going to be a lot of things blocking that way. But if you grow from the roots up, yeah, you can start making differences in it. So voting is just one aspect, but if you're not putting in the work to go into these fields, because most other cultures understand where they want their people to go into what field. And that's something that needs to be changed within the black community, because these people go to college, don't get me wrong, but what field are they going into that's going to benefit the collective? Even though we're not a monolith, we can all still complain about the disparities, but if we're not funneling everybody into these certain fields, what are we doing?
Okay, I hear you and I understand you. But you have to work within the system you live in. The system you live in is voting. And as you can see, Biden and Harris are in office. Voting put them there. Think about what you're doing, who it's affecting, and in the long range. It's not just that one day. It's what's the far-reaching effect of this?
What's the misconception people might have about you as a grandmother?
I think most people think that I'm mean. I know some of the girls where I work would say, she's mean, but boy, she'll get you out of trouble with the union. I'm very straightforward and I'm very blunt. I've always been, because I grew up in a family that was very structured. It was a very religious family, and my parents believed in corporal punishment. And I'm glad, because it's helped me a great deal in my adult life. I think it was a good thing. Hard when you're young, you don't understand it, but in the long run, I think it's a good thing.
Facts.
I have dated people of another race.
Well, she's biracial, so I don't know if she's even going to match that.
I couldn't get past a couple of dates because we went to Alvera Street, and lo and behold, we ran into all these brothers. And I just felt so uncomfortable. It's not the same for you as it is for us a long time ago. These were in the 60s. I just couldn't continue. And when I told him, I felt bad because he said, you're a racist. You won't date me because of my skin color. And I thought about it and I said, yeah, that's deep. Yes. I've always felt bad about that, but I just couldn't do it.
I mean, I'm in a relationship right now with a white person. If you like, that's it. It shouldn't be a discussion.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, of course.
When you go out and you see brothers, African-American men, do they look at you different because you're with a white guy?
1,000%. Like I told him, people are gonna look at us, and they're not looking at you. They're looking at me because I'm with you. It doesn't make me uncomfortable, but I do see people staring.
I think even though I'm not against interracial dating, I think that if the child is black, that they should never lose that black culture and try to assimilate another culture. I have a problem and an issue with that.
Now, here's an interesting thing about that. What is black culture? Because I think black culture is more unique than we try to put it into a box. Because I'm going to tell you the truth. When you look at Japanese anime, when you look at the black culture, they're some of the biggest proprietors of it. We reference it in battle raps, videos, all of that. We made it, to me, we made it cool. I don't care what nobody say. Japanese people been rocking with it forever. But when you look at since late 90s, early 2000s, from then on, we've been rocking with it. And even before then, we was Street Fighter, Sega Genesis games, all of that. Like, we was just rocking with the culture. Then you got all these infusion music. You got people rapping on their songs since the 80s with rock music, everything. Like, we stretch out, and it don't matter which one it is, whatever the genre is, we've always had a hand in it. So as long as we tell the truth that we are way more eclectic than people try to make it seem as far as the media goes, then yeah, you can always do good. So I don't reference that part, like losing the culture. Like, in my opinion, we are every culture, because we've either started it and it just got changed and made people think it was something else, or we made it popular because we enjoyed it, because that's something that resonated with us.
So I'm obviously a product of an interracial relationship. My mom is Filipino, my dad is Black.
Filipino.
Watching my parents try to understand each other, and then me being a biracial person, like, it's really hard to bridge that gap because my mom is an immigrant from the Philippines. She doesn't know what the Black experience is. I see the disparity in understanding. And in the same sense that my dad doesn't really understand what I go through. And I'm in a relationship with a Black person right now. And it's so much simpler to explain, like, this is my experience as a Black woman. This is what you will have to deal with. Police brutality if my child is dark skinned. But until this point, I've never encountered anyone that is willing to sit down with me and be like, okay, your experience is valid. We're going to get through it together. Because they completely shut down when they realize you have baggage.
Now, as a person as well, biracial, but most Black people pretty much are. But I have people from, Puerto Rican island. So when you listen to that, yeah, I know more about Black, but you have moments where people be like, oh, you ain't Black enough. Like, all right, whatever. But on the other side, it's like, yo, you didn't learn the language. Like, you meet Puerto Rican people and they be like, oh, you don't speak Spanish? Especially when I was younger, they be like, oh, that's so sad. You get what I'm saying? So I can understand that. It's really important on the parents. If you make biracial children, you have to put it upon yourself to give them both cultures so they can open up their minds and be more well-versed, i.e. the languages, the history, everything, those type of things, because it's important for them to know both since they, manifest from both sides. But then also explain to them, yeah, these are what is going on within your thing, but overall, you're still just a human being. You're not Black enough. You're not Filipino enough. You're actually both, but you're also more because you've actually had an opportunity to expand your mind more than the person who has never left their street their entire life. You get what I'm saying?
In 8th grade, I gave a speech to about 5,000 people. It's for the promotion from 8th grade to 9th grade. And they were always telling me, oh, I'm so articulate. And I don't like that very much because I'm like, well, what does that mean,
Wow. I didn't realize this went so long. I've been enjoying it. So let me know what y'all think down in the comment sections. I'm going to leave the rest of the video link down in the descriptions if you want to see more. And if you want to see me do a part 2, it won't be as long. I promise I won't talk that much, but I really enjoyed that dialogue back and forth because a lot of times you always think that the older people are just beefing with the younger people, and that's not really the case. It's just how it pans out. But let me know what y'all think down in the comment section. Be on the lookout for more videos, and if you want to see a part 2, comment part 2, and then I'll get started on the next one. All right, everybody, peace.